Welcome to the Create a Life You Love podcast, the go-to podcast for people who are called to make a positive impact through the power of coaching. You'll hear encouraging stories from coaches sharing their journeys and their lessons learned along the way, tips from top experts who help coaches thrive in their life and their business, and so much more. So if you're ready to create a business and a life of impact that you love, let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Create a Life You Love podcast. I am one of your hosts, Chantel Cox. I'm an author, speaker, transformation neuro coach, and certified life purpose coach. And shortly, we may have Gwen jump in, but right now, I'm going to introduce her so you know who she is. Gwen White is the amazing co-host. She's my partner in crime here, and she is a certified quantum human design specialist and a positive intelligence coach. And together, Gwen and I are on a mission to dramatically transform and create community in the coaching industry by supporting you in saying no to all of those complicated cookie cutter strategies that just lead yourself to burnout, and instead say yes to simplification with a focus on alignment and service and impact. So with our combined areas of expertise and experience, we are here to help you create aligned momentum in your business and your life. I want to do a quick shout out to Amanda Lee McPhee. She left us an awesome review on Apple Podcasts, and she said that this podcast has been such a great lesson. It provides amazing conversation with some awesome people that is actually applicable to life. So thank you, Amanda McPhee. And before we introduce the next amazing conversation that you're going to get from this podcast, a quick shout out to our sponsor, AI Coach Connection. It's an active and growing community of passionate, purpose-driven coaches who share a passion for learning and exploring how artificial intelligence tools and resources can empower them in their business and lives. So for more information, go check out that free community at aicoachconnection.com. Okay, let's dive into today. So today's guest is Kathryn Price. Kathryn is an author, speaker, and mentor who helps women find both the clarity and the courage to go after what they truly want. And Kathryn may look and sound familiar because she has been a previous guest in the one of the episodes where we practiced coaching. So she was super kind and generous and allowed me to coach her and record it and share it with you all. And today we get to share her message and amplify her voice. So welcome back, Kathryn. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm great. Thank you.
Oh, it's so good to see you again. And I love your accent. So remind us or tell us where you're joining us from.
So I'm in New Zealand. So a long way away.
Yes, and thank you for working with the time zone difference. What time is it there for you?
It's 6:11 in the morning.
Oh,
on Saturday morning.
Oh, thank you so much for waking up and being here with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
That's okay. I'm an early morning person, so yeah, I love getting up early. So.
Oh, good. Then we've got you fresh and ready to share all your amazingness. Awesome. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about your journey of creating a life you love through coaching. Like, who do you serve? What got you started?
Way back in 1987, I was introduced to the world of personal development by a colleague. And at the time I was struggling, and she told me about a book. And that book was You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. So I read that book and it opened a whole new world for me. It opened my thinking. It helped me to see that there was another way to look at life and the world. And from then on, I've been with it ever since. And then 2 years later, in 1989, I had my wake-up call. I was a 24-year-old flight attendant, and I was returning from my very first trip, standing in the back galley with the rest of the crew. Everybody was so excited to get home, and all I wanted to do was turn around and go back. I had everything on the surface. I was married, we had our own home, I drove a nice car, I had a job that paid me to travel the world, yet I was miserable inside. So next steps, I decided I wanted to figure out why I was miserable. So I went into therapy and there discovered that I was actually depressed. I had buried my grief for 12 years since my mother had passed. And yeah, that was where and how my journey began 35 years ago.
Wow. Love, love, love Louise Hay, and that you sought out therapy, that you recognized something, you're like, this doesn't feel right, and you connected with a resource to help you. Yeah.
Yeah, and back then it wasn't, particularly in New Zealand, it wasn't something that was common at all.
Yeah.
But I knew I couldn't figure it out, and I wanted a highly trained professional to help me do that.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, I think I'm saying all countries, but at least in America, that's all I really know about, is, it's come a long way in the mental health stigma, but we're definitely not there yet, wherever there is, and so hopefully, other people, when they're facing that, they don't have quite the stigma and the barriers, that they have to go through. They can just get the help that they need. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty much the same here now. At least people talk about it more, which is great, and it is more accepted to actually get help.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have our amazing co-host Gwen was able to jump on. So Gwen, we are in it, man.
My apologies. We had a total internet outage here.
Oh goodness. Well, I'm so glad that it was able to come on so that you could meet the amazing Kathryn. And so she was just telling us about her journey, how she got started. And so I'm going to go a little deeper here, Kathryn. So reflecting on your journey so far, like what do you feel has been one of the most valuable lessons that you've learned?
The biggest thing for me has been learning to firstly to recognize my thoughts and my feelings. So way back when I couldn't even identify what I was feeling. So becoming conscious of my thoughts and my feelings, and then alongside that, learning how to examine those thoughts and feelings, and then how to process them in safe and productive ways that actually end up with positive outcomes.
Love that.
Absolutely. And Kathryn, I am such a fan of you and your work. One thing I would love to hear more about is your book and how you really do encourage your readers, your audience, to sort of listen to the whispers of their soul. So can you share a little bit more about that, and maybe even a personal experience of your own that led you to the book?
Yeah, so the book is something that I had always wanted to write a book. So as a 14-year-old in high school, I fell in love with writing. When most of the other students were dreading the next English essay assignment, which is what we call it here, I couldn't wait. I loved writing, loved the words, the paragraphs, the sentences, the spelling, the grammar, all of it. And that was sitting in the background, and I had this idea that I always wanted to write a book. And when I was in therapy in the 90s, I got to the point where I plucked up the courage to share that dream with my therapist. And that was kind of the beginning of that seed. And that was a very long time ago. When over the years I started writing a few times, a couple of times I'd write a few chapters and more ideas, but life always got in the way. And it wasn't until January 2020, and my husband and I were out walking one day, and all of a sudden I had this thought pop into my mind, and it was, I'm going to write a book this year. And it was like, I had no idea where it came from. I hadn't even been thinking about writing a book. But what had happened, a week earlier, my brother, my soul sibling, had died of brain cancer. And it was, as everybody knows, grief is such a difficult time, and it's a time when we often really reflect deeply. And all I can think is that his passing sort of stirred something within me that had been sitting there for a long time. So that's a little bit of the backstory of how I got started. The book it's in 4 parts. So the first part is about listening to your soul. And that is similar to the experience I spoke about before when I was in the galley as a 24-year-old, and all of a sudden I had this, this whisper inside of me saying, hey, something's not right here. So that's the first part, starting to listen to ourselves, tune into those thoughts and feelings. The second part is doing the work. So that was when I went into therapy. That's examining our thoughts and feelings and all of that stuff. And the third part is building a solid sense of self, which is what happens when we do that work. And then the fourth part is a new life. So that is obviously what comes when we do the work. So it's 27 chapters. It's I've based it on my journey, taking people through the process of healing. Each chapter has exercises at the end, and it's really for anyone, who's got a secret desire tucked away that they actually want to go after. And they want a life that they really want, not a life that they think they should have or someone else says they should have. They want what they truly want.
That's beautiful. And yeah, I love this idea of listening to the soul, leading to this maybe long-held secret that maybe you've even kept from yourself, because life gets in the way. The voice of culture, our peers, our parents are always there, maybe taking us off our true path. And so I think the work that you can do alongside Flourish, the book, which is almost like a workbook, frankly, is really powerful in such a beautifully quiet way.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be in this space. I started doing some of this work about 20 years ago. I started running workshops and things, but again, life got in the way, and I went back to the corporate world, for circumstances. And so again, this work has been bubbling away as well. But now that I'm actually doing it, I'm so, my life has changed dramatically again, even in the last 18 months since I've been doing this work. I wake up in the morning and I can't wait to get out of bed, and I've got ideas racing through my head. I wake up in the middle of the night with ideas. I'm working on my second and third books. And now I'm on a mission to educate and inspire people about the profound impact self-awareness can have on happiness. Yeah. It's enormous. And I just want everybody to be happy and to be doing what they truly want to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I want to also just say how sorry I am for you for the loss of your brother. Events like that take us to different places. So
yeah, they do.
Good on you.
They do take us to different places, and they take us, for me, it has taken me very deep within myself. I'm part of a big family, but he was my soul sibling. So it was, that's what I named him after he passed, because he truly was. We were like two peas in a pod, and had been since our, teenage years. So, but that's life, isn't it? We all experience those things. And I think part of this too is about sharing the importance of going through that grief process, because we do come out the other side if we go through it. rather than trying to avoid it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaks to your resilience. It really is amazing that you found such a gift in that grief.
Yeah, I'm very grateful, for the gift that I found. Yeah.
I love that kind of leads into something that your book really emphasizes, which is the importance of allowing ourselves to feel it all, the joys, the challenges. So how might women create space for their emotions and use them as tools for growth and self-discovery?
Yeah, it's a big one. So creating that space is something that I first learned about way back in therapy. And I remember as I was ending my time in therapy, my therapist said to me, you need to put space between your doing. And at that time, it was really foreign to me. I was like, what does she mean? Of course she explained it. And she said, rather than rushing from one task to the next, actually take some space. So what that looks like in my life now is, I might be out for a meeting or a catch up with a friend or to do some go shopping or do something. I come home and I take some time just to sit, have a glass of water, have a cup of tea. Other times during the day, I might stop and just take 3 really big, full, deep breaths, particularly if I'm struggling with something, and ask myself, just what do I need in this moment? Another thing I do, which I've done for years now, and it's become automatic, as soon as I wake up in the morning, the first thing I say to myself in my head is, how do I feel? And what that does is that helps me know my starting point for the day. So if I've had a dream about something sad, I might be feeling sad. And if I just jump out of bed, get on with my day, I'm not actually aware of that feeling. I carry that into my day and then it comes out in all sorts of other ways that I'm not aware of. So that self-awareness that I talked about is, to me, is the key to being able to manage, our lives in the way we want to.
Those are both excellent tips that I myself need to take. Gwen's nodding her head.
Yes, exactly. I was like, ooh, I love this idea of just the simple question first thing in the morning. How do I feel?
And it's so simple. And the thing is, with as you know, and as I'm sure your listeners know, with this work, when we start doing it, it's like anything. Say it's like driving a car. When we learn to drive a car, we have to physically and intellectually think about what we're going to do next. But if we make it a habit, before long, we do it automatically. So even if you write that down on your bedside on a piece of paper so that you remember it first, and then before long, that will become something that you automatically do in your head in the morning.
Great tip. Yeah. I love a sticky note.
Yeah, me too.
Shifting gears just a bit, the theme or concept of being true to oneself seems to be a really central theme in your work. And I wonder how women in particular, how they can navigate kind of those societal expectations and pressures while still staying aligned with themselves, their true selves. Are there any specific practices or strategies that you can share about that?
Yeah, it can be really difficult. As we all know, there are so many pressures, as you say, from not only from society, but from family or partners or expectations to earn money. There are so many pressures these days. And it's not always possible to actually stop and say, hey, what do I want? Because you've got to do the doing just to actually survive and keep going. Particularly right now, right, with this, the financial and the housing crises that are going on around the world, so many people are, finding it so difficult. I think, if you can't actually make a big change in your life that you want to do, you will have a dream. I believe everybody has a dream. And it's tapping into that dream and doing even the tiniest thing that you can do. You know, way back when I was in therapy, as I started to actually heal and started to believe in myself, I started to allow myself to tap into the things that I'd always wanted to do. And one of those things was photography. And I'd always looked at beautiful photographs, you know, and thought, gosh, I'd love to do that. But, you know, at the time, you know, earlier I thought, well, I'd never be able to do that because I had such a lack of self-belief. But I allowed myself to try it. You know, I cut out the thing out of the newspaper and I put it on the fridge, and it sat there for months before I plucked up the courage to ring the tutor and book in for a class. But these days, you know, with YouTube and mobile phones, it's like you've got your camera, you've got all the tutorials you could ever want. You know, everything is there to actually start to tap into a dream. So if you've got a dream, start to do write it down first. That's the very first thing in what I call an I want list, which is something I talk about in the book. I want to be a photographer, or I want to do photography. You know, and then that plants a seed in your subconscious mind, and then start doing a little bit of research and start feeding that dream, and that self-perpetuates. You know, you'll start to get excited about it. And even if you can't afford a big fancy camera, you can learn online and go outside or you know, take photographs of your kids. So there's many ways we can tap into those dreams that cost us nothing.
So true. So something else that's mentioned is a supportive community or a buddy. And how transformative on a journey that can be, and exactly what you're talking about there. You know, if you got connected with a community of other women that were learning photography or anything like that, you can really cultivate meaningful connections. And so what recommendations would you have for our listeners with that?
Yeah, something I talk about in the book is finding a buddy, because it's something that I have done over the last probably 5 years, I guess. I first had an idea about this. So I've been self-employed now for 10 years in 3 different businesses. And at one point I was starting a new business, and I was struggling a lot. And I was part of some business Facebook groups, and I thought, I'm going to put a post in here and see if anybody's interested in being buddies. Just having one person that we connect once a week, and we support each other. We message in between time. So I did that, and I connected with a woman who I'm still, she's actually gone back to the corporate world, and I have another business buddy now, but we're very, very close friends. So that worked brilliantly. You know, as I said, we would meet up once a week, would message for support. It was incredible. And then a couple of years later, I was in a weight loss group, and I put a post in there. Does anybody want to be buddies? And I have someone who lives 3 hours away from me, and we have been buddies for about 4 years, I think it is now. We've met in person once, and we message most days. We send each other our weight and our steps probably about every second or third day, and we've done that for 4 years. And that has been the biggest difference for both of us in losing and maintaining weight, our weight loss. So finding a buddy for me has been massive.
That's amazing. Both of those stories just like give me chills. Yes. The power of where we're at in the world right now, that you can't, like, Gwen and I communicate constantly for the various things we're doing together, and we've not met in person. She's in Santa Fe, I'm in Kansas. And the fact that you can get buddies and support and community through technology is phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. It's so powerful, and it makes it so easy.
Yeah, definitely. And it speaks to the power of accountability. You know, Chantal and I are both coaches. I know you're a mentor as well as an author and speaker. It's so, empowering, and also motivating and inspiring to have someone else there along the way, sharing the struggle, sharing the wins, celebrating along with you, and also helping pull you along when you do lose that motivation or you do lose the drive and you're feeling more struggle than you are celebration. Knowing that there's someone there that you're going to connect with can be, it makes, like you said, all the difference. Again, 4 years later, here you are still connecting with this wonderful woman, and now you're, very likely consider each other friends.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think the biggest thing too is the encouragement. It's the accountability, as you say. That's huge. And it's the encouragement when the chips are down, because we all have those days. It doesn't matter who we are, coach or mentor or anybody in the world. We all have those days when things are not quite as easy. And I think the buddy system too is something that, not everybody can afford to have a coach or a mentor. I highly recommend that. I've had so many different coaches and therapists and counsellors over the years, and it's definitely what has helped me get to where I am. But there are other ways if people are not able to do that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm a member of so many coaching communities, and, it's amazing. So many different coaching techniques and, coaching buddies. I see those things form in those communities, and talk about, increasing the power of coaching. It's just enormous when you buddy up. It really does make a big difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Beautiful. I'm curious to find out, you as this brilliant author, the path that you have followed in life. Who are some people who have influenced you? Do you have thought leaders you look to, authors who've inspired you, who have been your mentors?
Yeah, there have been so many over the years, my own therapists and counsellors and mentors and coaches. So many books I've read, as I said, Louise Hay has been a big one. Back in the day, Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul. He said, if you think it, ink it. You're 42% more likely to achieve your goals if you write them down. He was amazing. Susan Jeffers, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. She was another one way back. So there have been so many. More recently, Elizabeth Gilbert has been a big inspiration for me, particularly on my writing and creative journey. She talks about in her book Big Magic about fear, and for me, fear was, it was enormous going through this process of publishing my book. I was afraid of sharing my thoughts and feelings. I was afraid of sharing my written work and my, out there in the world. And what she said in her book was, fear is always going to be there, but it gets to sit in the back seat. It doesn't get to drive. And I've held on to that ever since. And I love that. It's amazing it gives me goosebumps talking about it again. It's just so huge, because I think often people look at people who are doing something perhaps they want to do. And I certainly used to do this and think, well, they're not scared. But they are. They go through that as well, and that's been a big thing, starting to speak in public, it's been a big thing that's been fearful, but it's like, no, I can do this, it's like, and I'm not going to let that fear control me like I allowed it to for so many years.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Elizabeth Gilbert. Chantal and I were just talking about her earlier.
Oh, okay. She's amazing, isn't she?
Exactly.
She's wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. So we've talked a little bit about your journey so far. And so as you look ahead, what's next for you on your journey that you're going to put the fear in the back seat and do anyway?
Yeah, so lots and lots of ideas. I am a real ideas person, so I'm never short of ideas. It's more the time to implement them all and having to prioritize, as we all need to in business and in life. So right now, I'm focusing on getting myself out there. I've been doing lots of interviews on podcasts and radio, and I've just actually started, although I have a blog on my website, I've just started a Substack blog. So that's something new that I've learned about, which is great. So I've got that going. I'm actually going to be running some local in-person events later this year. On each month, I run a live webinar, so on a personal development topic. And then every quarter, I actually run a free webinar, which is called Reflect and Reset. So that's all about looking at the previous 90 days, looking at what's working, what's not working, and then setting goals and affirmations and things for the next quarter. So I'm doing that 4 times a year. That's a free session. So yeah, lots going on, as I say, and lots of ideas of things that I want to do. I'm going to be starting a podcast next year. It was going to be this year, but it's been pushed out, as has my second book, but that's okay. Life does get in the way genuinely sometimes, and we have to push things out. But yeah, lots of exciting things happening.
Yeah. It's a marathon, right? The only deadlines that we have are the ones we set for ourselves.
Yeah, and you've nailed it right there. The ones we set for ourselves. And I know for myself, in the past, I have overtaxed myself at times, put too much on myself, have experienced burnout a couple of times. And I think it's about that reprioritizing and always making ourselves and our rest and our health number one. That's something I've had to learn, particularly as I'm getting older.
Yeah, exactly. Just honoring the idea that rest and rejuvenation actually add to our ability to make a bigger impact.
Yes, for sure. And, when I was younger, it was just like hustle the whole time. And it was like, I've got to do more. And it's like now I find, taking that time out is often, it's when I put that space between my doing, it's often when I get the inspiration.
Yeah, you as an idea person need that space, I'm sure, to really allow your ideas to gel.
Yeah. And we all need it to rejuvenate, as you say, it's a biggie.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I can't wait to check out your Substack.
Oh, thank you. It's only just started a few days ago, but I'm excited. I've been watching lots of YouTube videos about the hows and all the back end and everything. So yeah, it's exciting to be there.
Nice. Wonderful. Yeah. So hopefully we can get that link from you to share with our audience. But before we kind of get to that piece, do you have any kind of final thoughts or advice that you might give to our audience who are seeking to live life on their own terms and flourish? Is kind of a key message that is Kathryn Price, this takeaway that you hope to really leave our audience?
Yeah, it's my mission. As I said earlier, my mission is to educate and inspire people, about the profound impact that self-awareness can have on happiness. And, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, I just want to get that message across because self-awareness is where it all starts. No matter who you are, no matter what you want to do, no matter how big, no matter how small your dream is.
Yeah. And it costs nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, costs absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And I've got a pile of freebies on my website, that people can download. So, to get them started on that journey.
Wonderful. Well, I, again, apologize for having missed the first part of this amazing conversation, but what I tagged in on has been so engaging, so informative. so nourishing. And I feel, your mission truly coming through. It's been a pleasure and honor to get to know you just a bit more and to have you here as our guest.
Thank you so much. It's a real privilege to be on shows like yours and get my message out there. And thank you for your kind words. Yeah, I just genuinely want to see people everywhere, pursuing what they really want to do and being happy. That's the biggest thing, being happy. Yeah. Thank you.
You can feel that radiating off of you. So it's very beautiful. And I know after everyone listens and watches this episode, they are going to want to connect with you. And so where are some places that they can do that?
So they can do that on social media, on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest at Kathryn Price Author, and on my website, kathrynprice.co. So that's KathrynPrice.co.
Amazing.
And of course on Substack, which is kathrynprice.substack.com.
Awesome. We will get all of those links in the show notes. And tell us a little bit about the free download that you are gifting the audience. It's at chapter 1 of your amazing book right behind you.
Yes, so that is available to download from my website. So at the top of the homepage, you can download the first chapter there. And also the book, it's available on Amazon, on Kindle and paperback. Yeah, so it's all out there. And if you do read the book, please, I'd love a review on Amazon. That would be amazing.
Absolutely. Reviews are key. Everyone, please leave reviews wherever you can for anyone you are supporting.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll be sure to share all of those links, including the new Substack link, the link for the free chapter of Flourish, which what a generous gift that you're giving. We want to thank you again, Kathryn, for joining us. And I know our listeners have been so inspired by what you're sharing and what you continue to share. And speaking of listeners, we would love to get your takeaways to find out what you thought of today's episode. And to please share this episode with someone that you think would benefit from it, which could be, frankly, anyone. The tips that Kathryn shared are so foundational and amazing and simple. And speaking of reviews, we would love it if you would also leave a podcast review at ratethispodcast.com/CALYL. So appreciated. It's quick and easy to leave a review from any device. And of course, you can grab that link in the show notes as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kathryn. And thank you, everybody else. And if our approach is resonating with you and you want to find a community of coaches to connect with, I would highly encourage you to check out Gwen and I's new community. It's called AI Coach Connection. It's free, and we've got 100+ coaches from all over the world that are passionate about learning how to use AI responsibly to help get their messages out there and reach more people and increase their impact. So we will get the link for that in the show notes as well. And thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you for all of your ongoing feedback and support. And as always, everybody, enjoy the journey. Thank you for listening to the Create a Life You Love podcast. We would love to hear from you about your biggest takeaways. Share them with us on Facebook or Instagram at Create a Life You Love Coaching. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. If you're ready to build aligned and sustainable momentum without overwhelm and burnout, we invite you to apply for the Create a Life You Love membership on our website, createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership. That's it for now. Enjoy the journey.